Hi, I'm Richard with the Data Success Team. One of the major new features in Dataedo version 23.2 is domains. Let's talk about the domains, what they are, and how to use them. Domains are logical representations of your physical databases or your physical data assets. They're groupings that make sense to particular user groups. We have in 23.2 data domains and business domains. Business domains are very similar in the way we think about them as subject areas were in the past, but there is much more capability now with business domains than there was with subject areas. Data domains have more to do with how to organize the data assets and present them in a way that reflects stewardship or ownership or responsibility for those data assets. Think of data domains as an approach or an application of data mesh, and that will get you a long ways into thinking about how to organize them and how to use them. So business domains are really akin to subject areas, and data domains are an approach to the data mesh idea of data management. So let's go over to the computer and see how these work. Okay, here we are in Dataedo Desktop. You can see this is version 23.2. The first thing you'll notice, of course, is in the Repository Explorer, we now have containers for business domains and data domains, just like we used to have for glossaries and data sources. Now, to understand how these work, let's open data sources, and you can see to the side, it says we have 5 data sources. AdventureWorks Data Warehouse, Reporting, and so on. The same thing for glossaries. We have one glossary within the container type of glossaries. So these top-level objects are containers that group together these objects of the same type. So we see in business domains we have 2. If I expand that, there are 2 business domains within that container. And data domains, we also have 2 right there. Within each of these, there are areas. For business domains, we call these subject areas. So we have a human resources subject area, people subject area, and so on. And down here in data domains, we call these data areas. So we have 2 data areas within the AdventureWorks data domain. This terminology becomes important as we start to think about how to organize the business domains and data domains. Now, where do these subject areas come from? You may recognize these from other videos. These are the subject areas that I had previously in an older version of Dataedo in my repository. If we look at these, we can see them right here. In the upper left-hand corner, this is the organization I had before. I have the AdventureWorks data collection or data source. Within that, I have a grouping of subject areas and 5 subject areas listed, human resources and so on. When I upgraded from 23.1 to 23.2, those subject areas were migrated over and converted to subject areas within a AdventureWorks migrated data domain. You can see that it named it right there, AdventureWorks migrated, and it gave a description that says these were migrated from subject areas in this previous AdventureWorks collection. And once they are there, we can work with them. In the bottom picture, you can see I have renamed that data domain from AdventureWorks Migrated to AdventureWorks Corp, and all of those areas still exist within there. I'm not going to call them subject areas because we are in a data domain. Those are now data areas as they exist right there. Let's go back over to Dataedo Desktop, and you will see, of course, these are now in the business domain, not in a data domain. So they are up here. There's AdventureWorks Corp right there. And these subject areas now, because it's a business domain, those subject areas exist within that. If we look right here in the worldwide importers, you can see I have a nested structure. I have a hierarchy there. So I have a Wide World Importers business domain. I have a subject area for IT, and then I have subject areas within that for the application and for the warehouse. So you can have nested subject areas and also nested data areas in your data domains. This allows you a lot of flexibility for organizing and presenting your information to your users. Now let's go back up. Notice I have opened the AdventureWorks Corp business domain. I double-clicked it to open, and it is bold, showing me that is what I'm looking at right now. And of course, you can see that at the top of the collection pane, right there, the Collection Explorer. You can see that I'm looking at the AdventureWorks Corp. Within that, you can see that I have glossaries, terms, KPIs, and so on. That is because I have linked these objects to that business domain. And you can see the number of each. For example, I have 60 terms, I have 1 glossary, I have 1 KPI, and so on. Down here below, I have 14 tables that I have linked to that business domain, and I have 1 report that I have linked. It's important to know you don't actually move anything. It's not in the business domain. It is linked to the business domain. That's an important fact, because if you were to delete this business domain, you don't have to worry that you're going to lose any of your objects, because it's just a link. They're not actually in that domain. Now, notice down here at the bottom of this Content Explorer, there's this Include Nested Areas option. Right now that's not checked, and you can see I have all of these objects associated with the domain itself. Obviously, there will be objects associated with the subject areas. For example, if I double-click People, you can see I have tables and views and so on right there. Now, if I go back to the upper level, AdventureWorks Corp, and if I click on Include Nested Areas, watch, for example, the number of tables. Right now it's 14. I changed that, and now it's 89. What that is doing is it's including all of the objects that exist in the nested objects. So it's including all of those objects that are linked to human resources, to people, to production, and so on. This allows you to see the data in a hierarchical way. And there's another way to view this. You can see it either as a flat view, like we have right now. We're simply looking at the groups or the types of objects, or we can go to a tree view where you're actually looking at structures of where these objects are found and what is in each area. So in the Power BI reports, we have data sets, dashboards, and reports. So this allows you flexibility in how you view your domains. Next question is, how do you create and organize and design your domains, your business domains, your data domains, your subject areas, and your data areas? How do you figure out how you want to organize these? Well, I have a spreadsheet here. This is what I did when I was designing what is showing in Dataedo Desktop right now. As you can see, I defined the domains right there, the AdventureWorks Corp domain and the Worldwide Importers domain. You can see them in Desktop. Within that, I did define subject areas as appropriate. Remember, I said over here that I had all of these objects. Let's turn off nesting and go back to a flat view. I have all of these objects that are associated with the business domain itself, not with any department inside of that. So you can do that depending on your need. You can see I have the business glossary. That's the one business glossary at the top. Then I have all of the entries in that glossary, 60 terms, 1 KPI, 10 acronyms, and so on. I have all of those entities. And then I have the dimension and fact tables from the Worldwide Importers warehouse. That is these right there. And I have a report. We have that report right there. You can see it. And then I defined the subject areas: human resources, people, production, purchasing, and so on. And each of those has objects linked to it. Human resources, you can see I have 8 tables, and so on. So I organized these according to the departments, but in some cases I wanted them to be outside, not dependent on any department, particularly those things that have to do with the entire business, like the business glossary and those dimensions and facts about the warehouse. They're not tied to any specific department. They are general to the entire company. So I organized those that way. I did the same thing with my data domains right here. You can see I have, there we go, I have 2 data areas in the AdventureWorks portion, AdventureWorks data domain, and I have 6 data areas within the Wide World Importers data domain. And then again, those have the objects that are appropriate linked to each of those. So I thought about how the data or the responsibility for the data was structured, and then created those domains based on that. And you can see over here in the data steward column, I have indicated who is the steward. That helped me to think about how to organize the data domains. Same thing with the business domains. I've got the data steward listed right there for those people. Okay, so what you do is you think about use. Think about who is going to be using this information and how they need to access it. For business domains, business users tend to think about things in terms of their department. So the human resources department, there they are, and they will be able to get to the information they need and get the understanding. And for data domains, more usually they're focused on the actual objects and who has responsibility to them. Again, that data mesh idea we're getting towards. Now you will notice on this spreadsheet, I do have a row that's highlighted yellow for a marketing subject area. I haven't created this one yet. I want to show you how to create domains and subject areas, data areas. I can do this in the Dataedo desktop by right-clicking either on the business domain level and create a new business domain. Or if I need a data domain, same thing, right-click, a new data domain. Or I can click on any of the business domains or data domains within that and create a new object of the same type. So if I wanted to create a new business domain, I could do that right there. I can also choose add a subject area within this business domain. Or down here, I could add a data area within that data domain. I can also go to any of these subject areas, right click and add a subject area there. I choose to do it from that area that will put it within that business domain at the same level as all of these other subject areas within this. So I will do a right click and add a subject area. There's my new subject area right there. I can give that a name. Marketing, and there it is. We now have over here on the side all of that same metadata that we had for subject areas in the past. We can give it a description, we can define an ERD, we can see the assets that are associated with it. All of these same functions exist here. Now, how do we associate or link objects to that new subject area? We can do that either on the Assets tab, Link Objects, or over here in the Collection Browser, Link Objects right there. So let's just click that. This brings up a panel where we can search and find what we're looking for. I am looking for some tables that are in the production schema. Here we go. Let's expand this. And you can see I have a lot of them here. I am going to select these. I'll alphabetize them, make it easy to find them. Now I'm going to find some. I'm going to choose things that have to do with products. So I'll choose some of these here, an illustration, a photo, product review, subcategory, category, description. So we have a bunch of objects here. I'm going to put one extra in to show you how to delete them later on. So once I've chosen the ones I want, I save it, and you can see there they are. They're listed on the Assets tab. We can also expand here and see all of them there. And when we leave this, we can come back and we see they're still there. Now, the one that I put in here that was extra that I don't want, I can remove that simply by right-clicking and removing the link. Remember, they're not actually in this domain or in this subject area. They are linked to it. So we can remove that. Okay. And when I refresh, we now have 8 tables, and we have them listed right there in the content pane. So that's how you add domains and areas, subject areas and data areas. Now you may remember over here, when these were migrated, it put all of these subject areas into a data domain called AdventureWorks Migrated, and then I renamed it to AdventureWorks Corp. Still a data domain. And if we look here, you notice they are now a business domain. How did that happen? I drag them up. You can pick them up and drag them to where you need them to be. And based on where you drop them, that blue arrow to the left side, that says if you drop it there, it's going to be nested inside of purchasing. Or if you put it up here, it will be a first level inside of that business domain. So you can drag and drop these wherever you need to have them. So that pretty well takes care of how to use and how to create business domains and data domains within Dataedo Desktop. Obviously, the navigation is very different than what it was in previous versions. That's covered in another video. But the whole idea here is to be able to choose a level over here. Here we're choosing the people subject area and see all of the information about it in the collection explorer there and in the content pane, so you can work with these things and see the full context. The reason that we have the collection explorer is specifically for domains. That is because we can have objects in these domains that come from different collections. For example, here I've got items in the AdventureWorks collection. I've also got items in my reporting collection. I've got items other places, like the glossary items. We can put them all together, which we could not do before when things were nested inside of the data sources. So this gives us that flexibility and added control over what you group together and make available to your users. Again, it's about a logical grouping that makes sense to your users. Keep that in mind as you design and build your domains. Now we're going to go over to the web portal and see what domains look like there, because there is some extra functionality when we get there. I'll see you in the portal. Here we are in Dataedo portal, and obviously you can see the front end has changed to reflect and include business and data domains. If we click on business domains, you will recognize the AdventureWorks Corp domain and the Wide World Importers domain. Same thing for the data domains. These are the same as we were looking at in Dataedo Desktop a moment ago. Go back to business domains. We can open the AdventureWorks Corp business domain. Within that, we have those 6 subject areas, including the marketing that we just created. And we can see the assets associated. Down here at the bottom, again, we have the nested areas choice. So we can either look at only the object that's highlighted, in this case, the AdventureWorks Corp business domain, and we see the assets that are associated with it, linked to it. or we can turn nested areas on, and you can see all of the rest of those assets that are linked to the subject areas directly. So you can see all of those there. We also have the hierarchy that we explored before. Now, the question is, what about linking of objects here? You can link objects to your business and data domains right here within Dataedo portal. Let's turn on editing. There we go. And we have the link objects button. We can go right there and we choose what is it we want to link. Let's get something from the report catalog. Click on the arrow to open that. We could either choose everything by clicking the box like that, or we can use the arrow to move into that collection and select something. And here we go. We can choose we want to include a report. There's a list of them. Or you could go with dashboards or data sets, whatever. So let's go here and let's say we want to keep this report. That one is already linked. That's why it's already checked. And we could choose another one like that. And we save. And now there will be 2 reports. You can see right there at the bottom of the list. There are now 2 reports linked to this business area. It's that easy to link them. Now, you can also unlink them here. That takes a little more effort. Let's go into reports. And right here is customer profitability that we just linked. Let's say that was a mistake. We actually don't want it linked. Over here on the right, the 3 dots, 1 click, and unlink right there. And you can see now we have 1. All right, the next thing you may have just noticed when I had this clicked open is mark important. Let's see how this works. Let's go to the people subject area, for example, and let's close this panel, have more working space. All right, we have a bunch of assets listed here. As we look at this, you'll notice there are a maximum of 3 items in each section. So we have 3 tables listed, a total of 13 views. There are only 2, so that's all that's listed, and so on. And then you could go to those tables and look at them. Right here on the right-hand side of the list, you have a star to say, mark this as important. So I'm going to choose several of these. Let's choose 5 of them. And now, when I go back to my overview, notice there is now 5 of them in that list. So it brings those that you mark as important to the top of the list and displays them rather than being limited to just 3. So you can bring those that are most important, mark them as important assets, and bring them to the front or the top of this list, making them easy to find. Now let's go to the AdventureWorks Corp. This people is a subject area within AdventureWorks Corp. Let's go there. Let's include subject areas. And when we look at our tables, there are those 5 tables. They have a hollow star now saying, that's telling us it's marked as important, but it is at a lower level. It's actually in the people subject area. So you wouldn't be able to edit these or unmark them, make them not important at this level. You'd have to go to the people subject area to change that selection of whether it is important, an important asset or not. So if you see hollow stars, it means that you need to go to a nested area to actually change whether those are marked as important or not. But you do see that they are being shown. The next item that's important here is the idea of permissions, and this is a big deal with business domains and data domains. To illustrate this, I'm going to open another browser where I'm logged in as a different user. And this user is a test account that doesn't have as much permission as the one I was just looking at before. And if you notice, let's go to some data sources and, for example, choose AdventureWorks. this user does not have access to the AdventureWorks collection. However, they do have access to some of the tables within that collection. How does that work? It works because I have linked these tables to a business domain that this user does have access to. So the combination of regular permissioning through, we have to go back here to user management. The combination of user management permissions and groups and the permissions that are set up for the domains themselves allow you to get very granular with what objects people can see. And so you use the scope of that permissioning to show that. Let's go here and explore that. To explore how that works, I've come back over here to the account where I do have admin privileges, and notice there is a permissions tab. I'm in a business domain, permissions tab, and here I can define what groups. I can add these roles, same as we do in user management, but it's specific to this business domain. We can do this for any of the domains and define who has access to do certain things. You can see there is that test account right there. They have data community member rights, which means they can view, they can interact with community, but they can't edit. And so by doing that, I've told them that this will override the permissions that they're granted in user management and give them extra permission to see objects that are associated specifically with this business domain. And permissions are inherited. So by that action, I've defined these users at the business domain level. That will also be true at each of these subject areas. If we were to define it at the subject area level, then they would not have access to those things that are defined at the business domain level. So they are hierarchical, they are inherited. But this combination of user management permissions, the general permissions that we're all used to, and permissioning specifically for domains, business domains and data domains both, allows you to override and, as I mentioned, become very granular, very specific about allowing certain groups of people access to certain objects or groups of objects. So that is the domain feature for business domains and data domains explained. We've talked about how these are logical groupings to present your data assets to particular groups of users or particular audiences. We've talked about how to create domains, work with domains, design them, how to create subject areas and data domains, and link objects to them. We've talked about nested areas and what that means to have them either turned on or off. We've talked about important assets within the portal. We've talked about permissioning within the portal. There's a lot here, and I don't expect anyone to get this on the first try. Watch the video a couple of times maybe, and after that, if you do have questions and you want more assistance with this, please reach out, success@dataedo.com, and we'll be happy to help you make this work for your organization.